Alright, I'm about to do something a tiny bit complicated in a short amount of time. I'm going to explain FateGrand Order under the assumption that while you might be a Fate fan, or might have watched some Fate anime before, you've never dived into the madness that is the stupidly successful mobile game. Because you might figure that you can just jump into the latest anime of the Fate franchise, absolute demonic front Babylonia, and navigate it just fine, to which I say,
good luck.
Babylonia is an adaptation of the 8th story arc from the mobile game, and it very much assumes that you at least know the general premise of the story before beginning. Heck, I might even say that this entire anime was designed under the assumption that the only people who would care to watch it are players of the game, because that's what it definitely feels like. Then there's the fact that the anime is a result of a survey to the fans of the game, asking what their favorite arc was and what kinds of things that they'd want to see with the franchise, which led to the results of Babylonia and TV anime. So it's not hard to come to this conclusion, but since there are many Fate fans who have never bothered or, quite frankly, don't have the time to have dived into Grand Order proper, believe me, I understand. Today I wanted to do a quick primer on the story so far before outlining if this new anime could possibly be enjoyed by non-fans of the game. Buckle in, because this will be like condensing the Star Wars expanded universe into a video, except it's about Fate. But hey, did you know that was an actual event that happened in-game that one time? This first reaction is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. FateGrand Order is a gacha mechanic-based game originally released in Japan for mobile phones in 2015. The elevator pitch for the game is quite simple. Create narratives that allow players to pay and roll for servants from across the Fate universe, from Emiya to Bluebeard, Mordred, and of course, the OG Saber Arturia Pendragon herself, and her many, many costume changes masquerading as entirely different people. You play as one Ritsuka Fujimaru, who finds themselves as the only survivor from a group of master candidates now tasked with saving the universe after a massive calamity started to rip it all apart at the seams. Fujimaru, alongside their shielder servant Mashu, must travel to the moments in history when anomalies began appearing, and not only sort out the whole mess, but also recover the mystical holy grails that caused the messes in the first place. The actual quality of many of these narratives, or singularities as they're called in-game, varies depending on the writer. Most are passable, giving somewhat absurd but still entertaining reasons to have various historical characters appear throughout these singularities. In America, for example, this involves the player fighting alongside a berserker version of Florence Nightingale against a Thomas Edison whose head has been replaced with a lion for some reason. In other singularities like Septum, actually, you know what, let's not talk about Septum, it's not worth the screen time. But the creme de la creme of narratives from the game involve the 6th and 7th singularities, Camelot and Babylonia. Camelot begins to answer many of the game's deeper mysteries, such as whom the villain actually is, what the real deal with our companion Mashu is, and hey, everyone loves Arturia, so let's showcase more of her and some of the Grail Knights and have them be temporary antagonists. In part 1 of the game, Babylonia is the penultimate singularity, where our leads must recover the final grail from the Fate franchise's biggest dick, Gilgamesh, while fighting literal gods, demons, and joke characters. And that's basically the primer. Babylonia has thus far been very considerate at not bringing up unnecessary information from singularities past, with about one exception in the first 6 episodes. I don't count the stuff from the prologue chapter regarding Olga Marie, because that's technically animated a few years back. So if you want to watch Babylonia, but you're worried about what you need to see beforehand, all you really need, in this one fan's opinion, is some previous Fate anime as a universe primer, whether that be the Dean anime, UBW, or Zero, and you might as well toss in the Grand Order prologue adaptation as well. Now, as far as answering the question of, is it worth it? Well, it is if you like a lot of ass kicking, though some might argue it's a bit heavy on the ass. How the show actually looks is an interesting topic. The action scenes are noteworthy for how fluid they are, even if the character designs heavily suffer as a result. Yeah, you remember how in recent seasons of Pokemon, they changed the character design to be a lot more simplified, but in exchange, got much more fluid animation in return? Same basic concept. The movement of all of the characters look great, even if the result is that a vast majority of the characters all have the same face. Now, I know it is a common joke in the Fate franchise that a lot of characters share the same face, mostly because they're all freaking Saber, but this is particularly annoying considering that Grand Order is a game that passes off servant designs to a myriad of Japanese artists with varying styles. But now here in this anime, instead of the uniquely designed Nightingale, for example, we have this blander version. Same for Mozart. Hell, if I just Photoshop the hair off of a bunch of these characters, you might find it hard to identify who they even are. But at least the battle scenes look amazing, even for joke characters. The only thing that depresses me about the action is the show's sound design with it. I never had a chance to talk about Fate Apocrypha in a video before, but it was the one in the franchise that started this problem for me. Someone on the sound design team just really likes this one impact sound. This one particular sound, the one that sounds like it came straight out of JoJo with Dio shouting, "Zawardo!" It's everywhere, and on top of not playing well with any speaker that I own, it just grates on my ears after a while. Apocrypha used it with much more regularity than Go has at the moment, thankfully, but its inclusion worries me, and it makes me think that maybe now that will become a standard sound for all action scenes in Fate going forward. My poor ears. Ultimately, while it is quite fan-focused, and so if you play Grand Order you'll get a lot more out of the material, it is still possible to enjoy this new series with just a tiny bit of prep. Just please, don't make this your first Fate. Not only will you be confused out of your mind, but honestly, some of the things here would make horrible first impressions. I love Caster Gill. I love him. He's great. But half of the reason I love him is because I got so used to Dick Gill after Stay Night and Zero. So now to see him not be that is great. But yeah, don't start here, but don't feel too intimidated by it just because you don't play the game. At least it's far more interesting than Case Files, and I love my boy Waver, but, man, not great. Maybe that was just me. Thanks for joining me for this quick discussion. There will be streaming links for FateGrand Order in the description below, should you require them, as per usual. And let me know down in the comments what you have been following this season. I know we're kind of getting near the end of the season, and it's probably not going to matter at all, but hey, it's always nice to know what I may or may not be missing out on. And, of course, until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, watch more anime, and stay frosty.